This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by SmartGolfDeals.com, the smartest way to shop for golf.
When we play golf, we often hear cheers and applause.
But these days, it's time for everyone in Canada to cheer and applaud the true heroes.
The ones making a difference in these difficult days.
So let's all cheer for the doctors and nurses. Thank you.
Let's applaud the first responders, paramedics, firefighters, and police officers. Thank you.
Let's cheer for the scientists searching for a cure. Thank you.
And all the long-term care workers caring for the elderly.
Let's applaud all the bus and subway drivers who are keeping things moving.
And cheer for the grocery store workers for keeping food on the shelves.
To the farmers continuing to feed us, thank you.
And all the truck drivers who are keeping the supply chain moving.
And to the cleaners who sanitize the important facilities, thank you.
Thank you to everyone who is getting us through these tough times.
We're cheering for you. We applaud you. Thank you.
We thank you. Stay safe, Canada.
Welcome to another episode of Golf Talk Canada video podcast. That's a great message off the top. Some of the best players in the world representing Team Canada, thanking the front line that has been working so hard in the COVID-19 environment. Welcoming in now Mr. Bob Weeks. Bob, lots going on in the world of golf. We've got a busy show today. We'll do news and headlines. We'll do Scully time. 20 weeks of TaylorMade is back. And we've been promising trying to tackle Tiger's schedule for a few weeks now. We'll tackle that today. How are you? And are you staying healthy and sane, my friend?
Yeah, everything's pretty good. I got to admit that I got a pair of clippers out of the drawer. I had a pair of clippers from way back, and I got them out, found all the parts. So I'm still a little nervous, but the next time we do one of these video podcasts, you could see me with probably like half hair over here and nothing here because I'll mess it all up or something. But
it's looking
everything's
fantastic.
Going
I'm telling you right now, it looks great. And if things could be worse, you could be dealing with these types of problems. So
that's a lot easier to cut.
All right, Bob, let's get to some news and headlines because interesting stuff coming out of certain provinces. Saskatchewan going to be back playing golf by May 15th. New Brunswick playing golf. PEI barely has a single COVID case. I think it was ridiculous, the total I saw posted from PEI. British Columbia playing golf. Alberta positioning to get back to playing golf. There's a possibility, now we don't know for sure, but there is a possibility by the time we get to May 15th, Ontario will be the only province not playing golf.
Yeah, I think Ontario and Quebec are both going to be neck and neck for the last one to open up. But you're right, those two definitely still have a lot of cases, and still I don't think they're anywhere really near, if you listen to the politicians, anywhere near looking at the opening up of golf courses. By near, I mean weeks. But I did speak to some people out in New Brunswick and some people in Saskatchewan over the last day or so, and anticipating some big things. New Brunswick has not had a case for over a week. They are open as now, and it actually was a bit of a surprise to the people out there. They weren't expecting it to be sort of immediate, and it was basically announced at a Friday press conference, and they said, okay, you can open. And I talked to Zach Rodriguez, who's the pro at the St. Andrews by the Sea, the Algonquin golf course. And he said by the time the press conference was announced, the announcement was made till the press conference ended, he had 50 phone calls from people asking if they could book a tee time. So a lot of the courses in both Saskatchewan and New Brunswick are really kind of opening up at their regular time of year, climate-wise. So it's nothing too unusual, but it's nice they won't get to miss as much of the season. And of course, they'll be putting in all those restrictions in both provinces. Interesting to note, 20-minute tee time intervals. So they're taking no chances for sure.
And I think that's what we're going to see across the board once we get there and everybody eventually gets out the other side. And certainly until there's a vaccine, and we know there's a long time away before we get that. But it's good to see golf coming back, golf being brought back with some COVID protocol in place, being responsible. And it also shows the appetite of the golf community, which is also a statement not just on our physical health, but our mental health. People need hope. People need something to do, a light at the end of the tunnel, and maybe golf can be a way of doing that responsibly. And speaking of that, a great segue. This week, huge charity golf tournament happening in Texas. John Senden, former PGA Tour pro, at the steering wheel, so to speak, of this charity event. Jordan Spieth in attendance, Tony Romo in attendance, A lot of big names in attendance. It's a 54-hole event. No media allowed on site. Players must carry their own bags, a lot of protocol in place, but Sendon being very open about how they could maybe show a blueprint or a pathway on how golf can come back at a tournament level and do this properly.
Yeah, it's interesting to note a lot of the courses, or a lot of the players in there, they're going to try and raise some money for the caddies who are at that golf course, as well as some other charities, which I think is worthwhile. Tony Romo being one of the highlighters there, but a lot of players at this club are members at this club. But you're right, it's interesting to see what they're going to do in terms of these players going around. There's another pro tournament going on, a small one in Vancouver this week, Vancouver Golf Tour, and I spoke to one of the players in that tournament, and he's saying, it's they're carrying their bags. You get out of your car and you basically walk right to the tee. There's no kind of warming up, and you go out and play. And he says it's not that hard to social distance. He said the biggest thing was that they have put sort of a half a foam cup, like a pool noodle, in the cup. So he says you sometimes get some unlucky bounces where a ball will go in and hit the pin, and it normally would have dropped in, but now it bounces out of it. So he said besides that, it's pretty easy to keep your distance and play responsible golf. So two good examples, that one in Texas and now the one in Vancouver, where, as you said, might be some kind of things for the PGA Tour to look at.
It's a good way, Bob, of keeping your social distance. Gun violence warnings or threatening gun violence. Did you see this? Absolutely insane. Golf course in Penticton, Ontario.
Penticton, BC.
Sorry, BC. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In BC. There was a sign in the parking lot of someone who was trying to use their parking lot for automobile sales, giving test drives, showing new cars. And the owners of the golf course said that basically, if he continues to do this, they're going to shoot him. Yes, they actually used the term shoot him, which I just was like, wow. Recently, it's been changed. RCMP got involved and replaced shoot him with $2,000 fine.
Yeah.
A little crazy.
That's a little different. That's kind of the high and low of the penalties there, isn't it? When you come to life, $2,000 of your life. Essentially what's happening is, I guess this is happening in a number of places, car dealerships aren't allowed to be open. So they're doing these kind of black market sales but if you want to take it for a test drive, they had to find some kind of a parking lot. So the golf course was called Wow, which I've never heard of. It's a 9-hole course, apparently, the Wow Golf Course in Penticton. And there was a local dealership there that was bringing cars out there and letting people drive them around the parking lot, I guess, as a test drive. And somebody didn't like it, so they threatened them a little bit.
Yeah, I'd like to take that car for a spin.
Yeah, exactly.
No, thank you. All right, Bob, we've been teasing it for a few weeks, trying to predict where Tiger might play golf. And this is getting harder to do because neither one of us would have ever predicted that he was going to skip the Players' Championship. And before they pulled the plug on the Players' Championship, leading into the Players, you and I were both shocked that he decided to take a pass on the Players. And predicting Tiger's schedule moving forward is also as challenging, because are we predicting a healthy Tiger schedule, or are we predicting the Tiger that we left with before the COVID-19 pandemic hit the golf world? So on the other side, we're going to take a look at what is now the existing PGA Tour schedule on the reboot starting June 10th, where Tiger might show up. This is our Golf Talk Canada video podcast.
This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by SmartGolfDeals.com. This segment of GTC is brought to you by Golf Ontario, shaping lives through golf.
Welcome back to our Golf Talk Canada video podcast. All right, pin the tail on the Tiger. Where will Tiger play golf this year? Well, the PGA Tour schedule reboots June 10th at the Charles Schwab Charles Schwab Championship, which is at the Colonial, old Ben Hogan's Alley, so to speak. Bob, I'm having a hard time keeping up with all the name changes on an annual basis. It's now actually the Charles Schwab Challenge, if you want to be exact.
Okay.
But it's the old Colonial. You and I have already spoken that this might be the greatest field in Colonial history because everybody chomping at the bit. But where will Tiger play? Let's start there. I want to hear your predictions, and I'm curious Does he show up at Colonial? You got to think this. It's not a tournament that Tiger normally plays, but I've been to Colonial Country Club. It's a ball striker's golf course. It's not a bomber's paradise. It's one of the few courses left on the PGA Tour that you play backwards from green to tee. It kind of sounds like a Tiger Woods golf course. I think he'd do well here, and I think he should have it on the schedule.
Yeah, I think it's a possibility, more so than it would be in normal years, obviously, just because of where it falls on the calendar. But I'm going to go down a little further. I'm going to say he waits till the Memorial, which is not until middle of July. So I think he'll wait a month to go out, because I don't know how much he's been playing or practicing. He does know when the start is, but of course he can kind of, if he knows that Memorial is going to be his first stop, which is one, of course, where he's had so much success, he can gear his practice around getting to that period. Now he has a pretty cool little facility in his own backyard, but apparently he's been out to a medalist, and he's doing that as well. But we do know, of course, he's going to play this challenge event with Phil, so he'll have to have his game in some kind of shape for what we're expecting to be sort of mid to late May. So if that's the case, then you might be right with Colonial, Mark. That could be something where he shows up, and it may be where the tour says to him, hey, listen, we need you. We need you to come out here and give this thing a real kickstart. And like you said, it's going to be a star-studded field anyway, so maybe he'll want that challenge.
I see, that's where I was going with this, Bob, and to me, you hit the nail on the head. I believe there is going to be some pressure applied from the PGA Tour, and pressure for lack of a better word, but I think there will be phone calls made to Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, etc., and saying, guys, we need you at Colonial. We need you for the reboot. We need to make a statement that we are doing this in a responsible manner, that it's safe to come out and participate on the PGA Tour, and we want you there. So I've got him starting at Colonial. I got him showing up 4 or 5 weeks later at the Memorial. Then I have him showing up at the FedEx St. Jude Classic. And then I have him showing up at the PGA Championship. So I have him playing 4 times from June 11th to August 6th. I have him playing 4 golf tournaments. That's when it starts to get cloudy for me after that. And the reason I say that is he going to be healthy enough to play 3 playoff events in a row? He isn't going to play the Wyndham. Does he want to play 3 times in a row? I don't know. So question marks around the playoffs. He'll obviously play the U.S. Open. I still don't believe, or I'm not 100% sold that there's going to be a Ryder Cup. If there's an event that gets canceled due to no spectators, it's the Ryder Cup. So I still have question marks all over that. And I still have question marks on whether the tour actually goes to Asia. So, pose a question to you, Bob. Where do you see the rest of his schedule based on what I've suggested? And I have a question for you. If the tour doesn't go to Asia, or even if they do go to Asia, considering Tiger, where he is physically, the Masters is November 12th. He doesn't like to play the week before a major, ideally. The only time he ever really did that on a regular basis was back at the old Bridgestone Invitational days, which was a WGC event leading into the PGA, a place where he's also won 8 times. Do you think Tiger could show up in Bermuda as a tune-up for the Masters? Where do you see him playing?
That's an interesting one. I never thought about that one. I mean, I have more or less the same schedule for you. I sort of thought he would start at Memorial, play the WGC, and play the PGA, and then try to lead into the 3 playoff events. And whether he plays all 3 or whether he plays the first and hopefully gets into the third, or maybe he doesn't qualify for the third. I think he's like 28th or 29th on the FedEx Cup list at the moment. So I would see that. And then it kind of gets to me after that is when it starts to get after the playoffs. Like you said, if there's no Ryder Cup, and I at this point am leaning more towards the fact that if there is a Ryder Cup, it'll be without fans, something I disagreed with, I think the last time we were on here, but I think they may still have that. So I think that's a possibility. And then I don't know. I think he may just shut it down until he gets to the Masters. He could do that. You know, he's one of those guys where I don't think. I mean, he's the defending champ, I guess, at the Zozo Championship, but I honestly don't think that's going to be played. And I think some of those events down there will be canceled, as you said. And so you're right, the Bermuda Championship, but I just don't see him going to Bermuda to play in that tournament for some reason. I just don't think it's kind of his shtick. even if it's going to be, as we said, a different tenure because of all the players who will want to play in that. But I just think you'll see him again finishing up at the Masters. So there may be a sort of an end of season. It was a U.S. Open and then into the Masters if there's no Ryder Cup.
It's going to be so interesting, Bob. The one that the things that leap out on me is, does the Ryder Cup move forward without fans? Players have already been vocal, Rory, Tommy Fleetwood, that they'd be in favor of postponing it if they can't have it with fans. And the other one is, if the Asian swing does get canceled, there is going to be a big wave of big name players that are going to want to play in Bermuda to tune up for the Masters. Also potentially Houston the week before the Masters. Will Tiger be one of them? Possibly not. Possibly he adds it. But what is for certain is that if that wave comes, Bob, those players that had events like Bermuda circled as places that they could get starts because they can't get starts in majors and WGC events, it just got a little harder if the Asian swing gets canceled.
Yeah, sure. Roger Sloan is a guy in that boat. We talked to him a little bit about that. Guy like Michael Glick's a guy like that. Those guys who need starts, and we're hoping to get 25 or 30 starts. Now, we don't know the full ramifications of what's going to happen with this season. It's likely that they will get some kind of bonus year or bonus events or something like that coming out. But you're right, those fields are going to be full, and there's just not going to be enough room. They've already expanded a lot of the ones that were going to be 132 to 144. They're going to be playing from sun up to sundown. You can bet that at that time of year. So it's going to be a crowded, and it's going to be tough to get into some of those events. And as you're right, you will see some unfamiliar faces at places like Bermuda.
Now, it's going to be so interesting to see. We'll learn more as we go. And June 11th for the Charles Schwab Challenge can't come soon enough. On the other side, we'll welcome in Adam Scully. Scully time. What happened a year ago in the world of golf? We'll get his take on Tiger's schedule and news coming out of 20 weeks of TaylorMade this past Saturday on GTC Radio. This is our Golf Talk Canada video podcast.
This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by SmartGolfDeals.com. This segment of GTC is brought to you by TaylorMade and the all-new Sim and Sim Max drivers. Shape in motion. We reshape the driver so you can reshape your game.
It's back. Yes, it's 20 weeks of TaylorMade. It's going to start very soon, and you have a great chance to win all sorts of wonderful products from TaylorMade. Mark, tell us how we can win these
Bob,
prizes.
they got to follow us on social media at Golf Talk Canada, Instagram and Twitter at Golf Talk Canada for your chance at close to 20,000 in product across 20 weeks of TaylorMade here on Golf Talk Canada. The grand prize, custom set through the bag, full experience like this guy.
Welcome back to Golf Talk Canada video podcast. That's right, 20 weeks of TaylorMade. It was announced on Saturday. It's back. The only way you can win, follow us on social media, Instagram and Twitter at Golf Talk Canada. Starting May 9th, we will start giving away prizes that value up to $20K across 20 weeks, ending at the U.S. Open with a custom set of TaylorMade golf clubs through the bag. Week one, the Sim driver. We're kicking it off with a bang. The brand new Sim driver will be week one, May 9th, Golf Talk Canada Radio. Follow us on social media to enter. Welcoming now into our video podcast, master producer himself, Adam Scully. Skulls, what's happening, buddy? Before we get to a year ago in the world of golf, you heard Bob and I throw around Tiger's schedule. Agree, disagree, anything pop out? Any predictions? You're very popular with your Tiger predictions. You got an outlier for us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic that Tiger's going to play a little earlier. I don't know about the Charles Schwab Challenge. I am a little curious about the RBC Heritage. It's a golf course in this new age of Tiger, plodding his way around the golf course. I think that'd be a good spot for him. I see him playing Memorial. I don't see him playing the WGC before the PGA Championship. I just don't see him playing back-to-back weeks at this point early on in the season. PGA Championship, obviously. And then I don't see him playing until the BMW Championship, assuming he does qualify. He is 28th on the FedEx Cup right now. If he does qualify through the Tour Championship, I would assume he would play there as well. And then, as you guys mentioned, U.S. Open, Ryder Cup, assuming he qualifies for the Ryder Cup. Then Zozo, if Zozo does go on, there's a 2-week gap to the Masters after that. I see Tiger playing one tournament, 2 or 3 weeks off, another tournament, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's the best way for his back. And especially if we get a hot summer, I think this could be a pretty good year for Tiger, assuming he is healthy.
Yeah, we all hoping for a hot summer, period. End of story. All right, Skulls. A year ago, what were we talking about? What were we looking forward to? Who was winning golf on the planet a year ago today?
Okay, a year ago for this weekend, the LPGA Mediheal Championship, Se Young Kim with the victory, a three-way playoff over Bronte Law and Jung-Hoon Lee 6. We all know what happened to Lee 6 later in the season, winning the U.S. Women's Open. Lexi Thompson, she finished 2 shots out of a playoff. Some Canadian content, Elena Sharp, the top Canadian at T27. And how about this? Brooke Henderson, one of her rare missed cuts, one of only her 2 missed cuts in all of 2019. A rare sight to see for sure. European Tour, the Volvo China Open. Mikko Kornin wins over Benjamin Hebert in a playoff. Haotong Li finished 4th. Some more Canadian content here. Richard T. Lee finished T49. And remember, this would have been a huge year for him because he had qualified for the Open Championship. Of course, that is now canceled, but he finished 5th at the Singapore Open this past January to qualify for the Open that would have been this July. Then on the PGA Tour, this was a great story. Max Homa picking up his first career PGA Tour win, a 3-shot victory over Joel Damon, Justin Rose, Sergio Fowler among those in the hunt. Top 10 machine, Rory McIlroy, 2 over on Sunday, still finished T8. And the Canadians in the mix, Adam Hadwin, T38, while Nick Taylor was T54.
Adam, before we let you go, Scully Scoop has dropped. It's the hottest podcast now. You got it launched. It's a couple of weeks old. What's coming up this week on Scully Scoop?
Pretty excited for this. This is some hockey content. Our first NHL player will be joining us. And then later this week, probably this weekend, a Stanley Cup champion will be joining the podcast.
Ooh.
Not going to say who, but just going to leave a teaser at that. I will say as well, Nate Klingersmith, World Long Drive competitor and CrossFit instructor. He joined me on my last podcast. Some great stuff on fitness and how CrossFit can help your game too.
Thanks, Adam. And we look forward to more fitness videos on the Golf Talk Canada, Instagram, and Twitter as well, as they've been very popular. We'll talk to you this Saturday on GTC Radio. Bob, what's happening in the TSN world this week for you? And it's interesting, Bob, too. Adam just suggested there that it's been a year ago that Brooke missed a cut, which is rare. And that's even more rare considering she was just kind of coming off a recent win at the Lotte Championship and then missed a cut. So it's a kind of a double rarity in Brooke Henderson world.
Yeah, unusual for her. She's hunkered down, I know, up in Smiths Falls now. So she's doing like the rest of us here and watching her hair grow. But she looks pretty. She likes her long hair, so it's pretty good. We're going to work on a couple of stories here. One about the tragedy going on in Fort McMurray. They just got over, of course, that big fire 4 years ago. Now they've got huge floods and the golf courses there are underwater. So let alone the pandemic and the drop in oil prices, poor old Fort McMurray is getting it on the chops. So we'll be talking to some people up there and doing something on that. And then a little later in the week, we're going to look at what the caddies are up to now on the PGA Tour. We know the players, but how are the caddies getting through this shutdown? And are they looking forward to the restart? We'll talk to a few of them and call them up. And we can probably discuss that again on GTC Radio on Saturday morning.
Yeah, for sure, Bob, because that's one of those stories that people aren't thinking about. Everybody thinks about the multi-millionaires in the top 75 in the world, top 100 in the world. But what about the Korn Ferry players? What about the caddies? What about LPGA, PGA Tour Canada? There's other stories here of people that need to get back to work and what they are doing. And the caddies are certainly one of them. Don't forget that we've only got a few days left to name the legacy course at Woodington Lake Golf Club. So follow Woodington Lake Golf Club on Instagram. Tag 2 friends and give us your best names for the new legacy course. Remember, they're going to 2 pins and relaxing the rules of golf this year. It's going to be a fun atmosphere over on a legacy course. You have a chance to win a VIP membership for the season at Woodington Lake Golf Club. So chime in on Instagram. 20 weeks of TaylorMade back. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Golf Talk Canada. And this Saturday, we're back for another edition of Golf Talk Canada Radio. Bob, Adam, and I, and I'm sure some special guests as we tackle all the news in the world of golf. we're hoping to have a formal announcement on Golf Talk Canada television soon. It is coming back. I can guarantee you that. We'll have details coming shortly for that. And don't forget, Monday night, May 4th, for those of you in Canada that have Bell 5 TV, 8:30 p.m., CBS Sports Network, Off the Hosel debuts. Thank you for watching our video podcast. We're back Saturday. Remember, first good decision on the golf course starts in the closet.
Mark and Bob's Clothing and Apparel provided by Adidas Golf.